One of the memories I'm most fond of from my childhood was my grandpa and I taking our boat from the start of the Apalachicola River all the way down to the Apalachicola Bay and back to my hometown of Apalachicola. A trip that we would take over a week to complete, stopping along the banks to cook the catfish we'd caught and to make cheese grits on our little stove. My grandma worked for an environmental company, and I was constantly being recruited to plant things, to relocate endangered gopher tortoises, and gather water samples from water that no one else was willing to get in. I truly loved my home, its beauty and its uniqueness, like being the oyster capital of the world and being one of the very few places with Tupelo honey. This area's dealt with it all. We've seen the worst hurricanes on record. We still live with a reduced water supply from upriver, and its repercussions on the seafood industry in our bay, and we recovered from the BP oil spill. When I heard that the Apalachicola River Basin was again being threatened by powers we could actually control, I knew I needed to step up and help fight for one of the places I loved most.
Siren!
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What do we got going on?
Well, we got a lot to talk about. We got a river to save and a bay as well.
All right, you want to go have a coffee and talk about it?
Let's have a cup of coffee.
So tell us a little bit about what's going on in the Apalachicola River Basin right now.
Yeah, so it's interesting. There's this oil company from Louisiana, and they want to come on over here, and they want to start doing exploratory oil drilling in the Apalachicola River Basin. So they've selected a site that's not terribly far from a slough that feeds into the Apalachicola River, and they want to take a drill, punch down through the aquifer, inject high volumes of chemicals, and if they're lucky, they'll find some oil. And then they'll try to move forward with commercial oil production in this region.
Okay, but there's a lot of risk involved in that, obviously.
There's a huge amount of risk involved, and when you think about the risk of hurricanes that we have here, when you think about just the incidental spills that can happen at these types of operations, and then all that's at stake downriver, all the livelihoods that are based in Apalachicola Bay, it's really just an incredible risk for very little reward.
And our bay's already been closed for almost 5 years to oystering, and we're about to have that open up again.
Right.
So that's, are we being counterproductive there?
Yeah, I mean, so in 2019, Apalachicola Bay was shut down for wild oyster harvesting. And since then, the state has been spending tens of millions of tax dollars to try to restore Apalachicola Bay because our state leaders from both parties have understood how significant the oyster economy is here. And so to go on the back of that and to show up and start drilling for oil here, when we know on the Gulf Coast what oil can do to our ecosystems, we've seen it up close. We know what it's done to our seafood industry. It's a very difficult idea to process.
And the DEP seems to be on board with this.
Yeah, so the State Department of Environmental Protection, so far they've offered their blessing. And in fact, they're about to go to court to support the oil company as they're trying to drill for oil. And so it's a very strange thing. They seem not to be following their statutory duty to protect this waterway, which this is designated as an outstanding Florida waterway. That's the highest level of protection we can give a waterway in the state of Florida. And so you think about not just what could happen here, but also the precedent it could set for other protected waterways around Florida if this is allowed to move forward.
Man. Well, you wanna go upriver a little bit and just kind of see what's out there?
Yeah, I think we should see the river.
Okay.
Cool, let's do it.
Let's go. So who all do you think this is going to affect?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real threat to of course, to the oyster economy, but also to the Tupelo honey industry, to the tourism industry. really anybody who relies, whose livelihood depends on these waters being clean, or even who recreates out here, right? Who hunts and fishes on these waters. It could have really serious far-reaching impacts, yeah. We just know too well around here what oil can do to our seafood industry in particular.
Right.
But with that, of course, the tourism economy, rentals, contracting, all of it, right? In one way or another, it depends on people wanting to be here, and folks aren't going to want to be here if the water's not clean.
It's true.
My group is called the Downriver Project, and we're just a group of volunteers, and what we do is we try to bring together folks who care about the water.
What other organizations are working on this right now?
So we are really proud to be one group in a coalition called the Kill the Drill Coalition. And you can learn about them at killthedrillfl.org. But basically the Kill the Drill Coalition is a bunch of businesses, it's a bunch of nonprofits that are all working together to protect our interests in these waterways and to protect our way of life. The best known example of that is when an oil company tried to threaten Wakulla Springs. And we had this gas company called Sunstop, right? They came in and they wanted to build a 16 pump mega gas station on top of the Wakulla Springs Cave.
No.
And so we organized around that, and it came to a head when we got 400 folks to show up at a Wakulla County Commission meeting, where the Wakulla County Commission was set to approve this item. And it just so happened that it was last August when we were having a heat advisory, and so we had this huge overflow crowd, and they were forced to stand in the parking lot in 118 degree heat, and ultimately refused to leave and shut the meeting down. And that is when the Florida legislature got interested in the issue. Ultimately, we were able to get $3.6 million through the legislature last session to purchase that land from the gas company and to purchase a much larger corridor on top of the Wakulla Springs Cave to permanently protect it.
Nice. Thank
you. Yeah, sure, of course. And so this is something where we've seen oil companies before, right? We've been here before, and this is another oil company that's threatening another legendary Florida waterway. And if folks come together, I think we can beat it again.
Nice. So what is the name of this company? The oil company?
Yeah, so they're called Clearwater. And so we actually have a situation where there is a company called Clearwater that wants to drill here, and there's a department called Environmental Protection that wants to let them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we need to show up on Monday then.
Yeah, you need to show up on Monday.
And that's in Tallahassee.
That's in Tallahassee. So on Monday, what we're going to be doing in Tallahassee is we're going to show up to DEP headquarters, and we are going to respectfully make clear that folks around here are not going to stand for this, right? We are not going to allow our culture, our traditions, our waters to be threatened. We just can't afford it. We've been through too much, and we can't afford to have another oil incident in this area. And so that's going to be on Monday, December 9th at 1 o'clock sharp. Folks are going to meet at 3900 Commonwealth Boulevard in Tallahassee in front of DEP headquarters. Mm-hmm. And we're just going to kind of let them know that this is something we're willing to stand up for.
Yeah. Great.
If folks can't show up on Monday, what they can do is they can write to the governor directly. So the governor is the person who can shut this down. And he's invested an enormous amount in this ecosystem. And so, he has good reason to want to. And we think that if we can make the case and if enough people can bring it to him, he'll make the right decision on this. We've got a link in our bio on Instagram and on our website, downriverproject.org. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to write the governor. It takes just a minute. And we've got an example of an email sitting right there for folks to use if they choose to.
Excellent. So do you think there's hope in this? I mean, why should people believe that this is worth fighting for, that we can actually make a difference here?
They should believe it because it's happened again and again and again. What we hear a lot of times is that, well, gosh, the system's rigged and there's nothing we can do. And people believe that for good reason. I mean, the deck is constantly stacked against folks like us. So it's understandable. But the reality is that we have done this 3 times now as an organization. We've showed up, we've brought a community together, and we've been able to stop these really dangerous projects. And so this is one where, the state investments are there. The political interest is there. The legislature has made Apalachicola a priority. Mm-hmm. And it really doesn't take a lot to see just how much is at stake here. And so we believe that there's a really good chance that if folks do come together, if they show up, if they write the governor, if they call in, if they stay informed, all these things, there's just an enormous amount of good we can do, and we think we can beat them. We really do.
Good.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope.
And so, really what we want is a broad group of folks who are all working together, united on this issue. And if you're interested, you can go get a free yard sign at killthedrillfl.org. You can add your business to the coalition that's supporting this initiative. And you can just learn more about the issue. We've got a lot of good content there, resources to help folks understand exactly what's being proposed and exactly what it means for us.
Great. Excellent. I kind of want a yard sign.
You'll get one.
Great.
You will absolutely get one. They are free yard signs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for meeting me today.
Yeah.
And thank you for informing me on all of this,
sure.
because I've been so busy, I've been out of the loop.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to know what was going on in my own backyard. Because, honestly, I haven't heard anyone really talking about it locally.
Okay.
I've just been seeing everything on social media and wondering what was going on. And I really don't think that enough people are aware that it's even happening, to be honest with you.
Well, and that's the thing about this issue is, it's one where once people know about it, they care.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
It's just something where, the fewer people know about it and the more it's in the dark, the more power the oil company's going to have. And the more it's in the daylight and the more folks know, the more we're going to be able to do to stop them. And so this is going to play out over the next few weeks and months. And ultimately, we're going to continue to work to try to make sure that we get the attention of the governor and to make sure that he makes the right decision on this.
Great.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
After hearing Gil talk about the potential threat to our way of life here on the Apalachicola River and in our bay, I wanted to take a drive to have another look at the areas that could be affected if things were to go wrong. This is a place where the spirit of the wild still breathes. This is sacred ground, recognized by the United Nations as an international biosphere reserve, and it's a tapestry woven with vibrant threads of life. You can feel the pulse of life flowing through its veins, a vital force that nourishes one of the last unbroken bottomland hardwood forests in the United States. This is the home to dozens of threatened or endangered animal species and over 100 threatened or endangered plant species. This is a place where biodiversity thrives. This is a place worth protecting.